Hello everyone, welcome to another video where today I'm going to be reviewing and comparing all three play scale versions of the LEGO Night Bus. Now this is my first ever review or comparison video, so feel free to give me some tips down in the comments below. So the three versions we saw from LEGO were released in 2004 with set number 4755, 2011 with set number 4866 and 2019 with set number 75957. So let's take a look at each of these sets one by one and I'll summarise with my comparisons and final thoughts. The Night Bus is actually based off a real bus, that being the 1954 AEC Regent double-decker bus. Then the wizards of the Wizarding World have gone ahead and stuck another floor on top. This gives the Night Bus a very narrow and towering look, which of course is ideal for slipping between traffic like in the film, and I feel the 2004 Night Bus is the only one of the three to represent that. The extra half an inch in height really does make a difference, and that's the first of many reasons where I think the 2004 Night Bus beats out the other two. Starting at the front, we see it has a very vintage look, both in terms of LEGO design and what British buses used to look like way back when. I really like how the 2004 and 2011 Night Bus sets both have a brick built grille, which really makes its features distinct. The design of this grille to me is really neat, but I just wish it was a bit lower, as I think there's too much ground clearance here, but apart from that I really do love it. So to one side we have what would be a flap on a real bus which has got access to the engine. They've used a curved slope piece here which I think does the job nicely. On the other side of the bus you have the cab area, as this is of course right hand drive. On the windscreen piece we have a printed shrunken head, which is actually the most accurate recreation of this considering the illustration is shown to be hanging from the ceiling, whereas the other two they're not. Moving up the bus we have a 1x4 black tile, with the Night Bus signage printed on, and yes, there are no stickers in this set, so another point for the 2004 version, but one thing to note is that looking at this tile you notice a TM logo, but not on the other two. This is because, at the time, the term Night Bus was trademarked by Warner Brothers, but has since expired and not renewed. At the back of the bus, this is where we're going to deduct points unfortunately. The way in which you enter aboard the Night Bus here is completely unrealistic to the film, but at least we have a way of getting in and out. LEGO could have easily just blocked this up with a window here, but I'm happy they didn't. So this Night Bus can come apart in three layers in a modular style. On the first floor, you have a quite sizable driver's cab and a sliding bed with tiles underneath, which helps allow it to move up and down. On the second floor, we have the same bed but with no tiles underneath for some reason, and on the third floor we see exactly the same design as on the second. Now I do like the inclusion of the beds, but I wish they just kept that to the first floor and instead gave us a chandelier at the top to hang down like we see in the other two Night Bus sets. The last thing to note about this 2004 Night Bus is the tyres. They are nice and chunky and that's actually very realistic to the film. What isn't realistic however is the exaggerated tread we see on these tyres, but overall I think it's a great model. So onto the 2011 Night Bus, we see the model has changed quite drastically. This leap represented a 7-year gap in which LEGO has made many improvements to its building techniques and just overall quality. In my opinion though, the biggest improvement in those 7 years were the minifigures, but we'll compare them at the end. Starting at the front of this bus, we see that the grille is once again brick built. I think it does some things better than the 2004 version, but in some areas not. For example, this grille has fixed the ground clearance issue we saw before, but I feel the grille itself protrudes from the chassis a bit too much, like it comes out by as much as 3 plates from the front, but in the real bus it's flat. Moving up, we see that they've removed the curved slope piece which was there to represent the engine hatch, so that's something I'm not too much a fan of. I think aesthetically it may look better, all flat and tiled up, but at the end of the day it's not realistic. In the cab we have an actual element to represent the shrunken head, which is probably better than the printed windscreen, but unfortunately this set has a negative you could say versus the 2004 version, and that's the fact it has stickers. I don't think this is too much of an issue though however, as it is a set aimed at all ages, but yeah, it's certainly noteworthy. At the back of the bus, this is where the 2011 version certainly does better than the 2004 version, and that's give us a proper accurate entrance to board, so props to LEGO there. So this does come apart just like the last one in 3 sections, but this time there's a lot more variety. So on the first floor they give you a sliding bed, which of course is movie accurate. On the second floor this is where it starts to change. So the second and third floors on the set aren't exactly complete floors. You have sections of the floors on either side with space to sit someone and a space to store your luggage. That's because they want to provide room for the swinging chandelier. I think this is a really cool addition and it's something the old Night Bus set unfortunately missed. My only niggle with this is just to look at the chandelier. I don't think it looks great, I think they should have probably given us more representation of the lights, as the chandelier in the film is huge, and I just don't feel that this one does portray that very well. So for the wheels in the 2011 night bus, they've been changed to grey, which isn't movie accurate, as the wheel colour in the film is purple. The tyres are skinnier and thinner, which I think suits the model well, so make of that as you will. And yeah, I think it's a really nice model, and there's some clear improvements in terms of accuracy from the 2004 model. So finally, going on to the 2019 night bus, which is the most recent and up-to-date version of the Wizarding bus. I feel in terms of accuracy, this is the most superior version, but it certainly isn't perfect. So without further ado, let's get on to the analysis of this one. Starting at the front of this bus, we see that the way in which LEGO has designed the grille is different from the rest. They have decided just to use a sticker on a big tile piece, and personally, this is a slight disappointment. I think it's actually the most accurate interpretation of the grille from the three models, but it feels a bit of a cheat, as it's easy to represent it more accurately just by making the whole thing a sticker. Above the grille, we can see that they've again done without the engine cover, with that whole section is more curved and well rounded compared to the others, and I do think this does look better. So in the cab we have a new shrunken head, which is actually a proper minifigure head, which we can attach to the ceiling, which is pretty cool. Definitely improvement compared to the 2011 version. Going up the bus again, we see a familiar night bus sign. This time it's issued on a black tile unlike the 2011 version, but unfortunately it is a sticker and it's not printed, which is a shame. What's also to note is the way that they've designed the front section of the bus. They have now modelled it in a way which sees the top front section of the bus hinging gradually, which means that the natural slope we see in the real bus is represented more accurately this time compared to the other two models, which saw each floor above the first become slightly shorter than the one below it. I personally think the method used on the 2019 version is far superior and realistic to the film. At the back of the bus we see a similar and realistic design, just like the 2011 design, which is perfect. The only major difference here is the addition of the big sign which says all destinations, nothing underwater, which is pretty cool. But when it comes to the way in which we get into the interior of the bus, it couldn't be any more different. So with the other two designs, the way in which we access the interior was by taking the floors off in a modular style, but with the 2019 night bus, the way we enter it is by swinging the side panel open. I think this is an improvement to the older models due to it just being easier to access, and we have more room inside than before. I also appreciate the fact that the chandelier is a massive improvement from the 2011 model, with more focus on the lighting elements, and we also see a more realistic attachment to the ceiling. Other improvements for the interior include the driver's seat chair, which can be swung in and out for ease of access, also the more detailed moving bed on the floor tiles, which can actually hinge up to easily put in a minifigure. And finally, I'd like to praise LEGO for the interior sticker, which just adds that extra little level of detail. The top floor can still be accessed, but not via the opening side panels. To access the top floor you have to take off the roof panels, and there's some space there to store Harry's luggage. Drawbacks I'd say for the way in which the bus is designed are slim to none, but what I do feel is certainly a step backwards is the way in which they have designed the windows. The 2004 and 2011 night bus sets gave us windows that were square and rounded at the corners, with an ingrained groove in place to represent the opening at the top of the windows. This is realistic to the real 1954 bus because they of course didn't have air conditioning equipped. It is also accurate to the night bus in the film. Another issue I have with these windows is that they are rectangular vertically when they should be rectangular but horizontally. None of these three buses have come close to accurately representing the shape of the windows, but I feel the 2019 model especially comes at the least close to doing so. So for the wheels on this 2019 night bus, we have a different design again. This time they're black with a purple stud in the middle to try and emulate the colour of the wheels, but I think they should have just made the wheel mould purple instead. It would have looked so much better in my opinion, but it's not really a big deal. With the tyres, they're actually the smallest variant yet, and they don't have much tread on them, so they're essentially slicks, but I wouldn't say they look out of place or anything. So overall a fantastic model and a must buy for all Harry Potter fans. So let's compare the minifigures of these sets now, and then we'll finish off with my final thoughts. So onto the minifigures, I'm going to compare each of the characters across the three sets. So we'll start off with Harry. The Harry figure hasn't changed too much in 2011 it seems, but the difference between 2004 and 2011 are quite seismic. So for the 2004 model we have the same hair as the 2011 version, but we have a different face print. I personally think the face print on the 2004 figure looks a bit off. His expression seems a little too blank to me. Onto the torso print, we have a bright blue jacket with a bluish grey shirt underneath. This is probably the worst torso print of the three in my opinion, as the colours are just off. In the 2011 version we have a much improved face print here and a much improved torso print. However, the one thing I dislike about this torso is the discoloured skin tone at the neck part, and that's what the 2019 version fixes. The 2019 version looks much cleaner and much more refined in my opinion, and it also has a more accurate hairpiece. However, the face print for the 2019 version looks too young for me. For the legs, the 2019 version has similar legs and they all have different colours, and funnily enough, none of them are actually movie accurate. The best colour to use here would have been dark bluish grey, so if I were to create a perfect Harry figure for this scene, it would look like this. Onto Stan Shumpike now, and we see a general improvement at each stage. With the 2004 version, the face print to me doesn't work with the hair. I do like the torso print on the 2004 version though with the metallic elements, but I do feel that the tie is way too short. With the 2011 version, the face print again doesn't work, it doesn't look like Stan to me, but the 2019 version I think just looks fantastic. Also, the additional improvement of the cap means that the 2019 version is indeed my favourite figure of the three. What I do like better though is the 2011 torso print. I just feel it's a bit more polished looking than the 2019 version, so my perfect Stan Shumpike figure would look like this. So finally, onto Ernie Prang. You'll notice that there's only two here, and that's because he wasn't included in the 2004 set unfortunately. I do like both of these minifigures, but I think the 2019 version is certainly a better figure overall due to the dual moulded hairpiece, which I think really works here. I also think that this is a superior face print, and I think the colour of the hair is more accurate. However, the torso printing for this figure is certainly a downside. The 2011 version is pretty much perfect and the colours were very accurate. I don't understand why LEGO felt it was necessary to change the torso so much, but there you have it. My perfect Ernie Prang figure would look like this. So onto the accessories of this set. In the 2004 set we got a street lamp, a hedge, some luggage and a grey city dog, which I've only seen in brown in other sets, and also a Hedwig owl with no printing, which is weird because Hedwig isn't a part of this scene at all in the film. We also get this wand with a weird luminous green cone at the top. My only guess as to what this is would be the Lumos spell, but someone would have to correct me in the comments down below if I'm wrong. In the 2011 Nightbus set we got a little less things, but we got a normal wand, a Hedwig with some printing this time. Obviously it's still silly we get a Hedwig at all, but that's besides the point, and we also get Harry's luggage. In the 2019 version we finally got no Hedwig, which is a strange thing to celebrate, but to replace her we got a cool newspaper piece which I really love. Looking back now, I'm surprised this piece wasn't given to us in any form in either of the last two Nightbus playsets. We also get this light thing, which I don't really understand why it's here, but I guess it's a welcome addition. So that about wraps up my comparison on these sets. There's a lot to cover. I love owning all three of these sets, and it represents a sort of timeline from 2004 LEGO onto 2019 LEGO. I really like that aspect. When it comes to pricing for these sets, the 2004 version retailed for $30 and £20 and came with 243 pieces. In today's money that's actually £31 or $43, so actually very expensive. This set now fetches around £100 sealed on the aftermarket, so it is very sought after. The 2011 Nightbus set retailed for $35 or £30 and came with 257 pieces, so very expensive at launch in my opinion. In today's money that's actually £37 or $42, which is a yikes on me. And on the aftermarket this set fetches upwards of £75 sealed, so again it is very sought after. And finally, for the 2019 Nightbus set, this retailed for $40 or £35 and came with 403 pieces, a very fair retail price in my opinion. Today you can pick the set up for less than retail, and I really think this set will be a solid investment piece. To hear my thoughts on why that is, make sure to check out my LEGO Harry Potter investment guide video in the description below. So overall, you're probably wanting to hear my verdict on which set I personally think is best. When it comes to accuracy, I think the 2019 version takes it, but my favourite has to be the 2004 model. The best way I can explain this is saying that it's like owning a dog or a cat. You love your dog or cat, not because of it being perfect. I'm sure your pets have many flaws in the sense that they do your head in when they bark, or they start eating the sofa when you get bored, but I'm sure you could get a so-called perfect dog or cat that will be quiet, you know, to do what they're told and all the rest of it. But would you trade your pet for such an animal? No. And that is how we'll look at this comparison. The 2004 version isn't perfect in terms of accuracy, But what it is it's a good representation of what LEGO is to me. It's naturally quite blocky, it's bold by not just using stickers to make complex parts out of the bus, it's restricted in what elements it can use due to the limited choice of parts, and they still managed to best out in some areas compared to the later variants by just using standard bricks. And most importantly, it was the foundation which the other sets were built from. It's unfancy and is the most obvious LEGO model of the three, and that is what arguably makes it a perfect LEGO model. And on that note, I'll catch you guys next time.